Hello, my name is Lonnie Douglas. I'm with the Eugene Springfield Solidarity Network.
I'm Thomas Brown. I'm with SAN, affiliate of the ESSN network.
Cool. And we're here today with Johanis Tadeo, who is running for office in Springfield, Ward 3. We're going to go ahead just before we get started. We want to let everybody know that these candidate interviews are not an endorsement of any particular candidate. It's simply a opportunity for voters to engage with candidates during the COVID outbreak, since the candidates aren't able to get out and knock on doors and engage as easily with the public. So hopefully this will help people to make a more informed decision when they're filling out their ballots. And we're going to go ahead, Johannes, why don't we go ahead and start out and just give you some time to introduce yourself and let us know why you're running.
Yeah, my name is Johanis Tadeo. I'm a community organizer and the director of Springfield Alliance for Equity and Respect. I grew up in Springfield and attended Springfield Public Schools from K to 12. I have been deeply involved and committed to the whole community that I've grown up to know and care about. My focus is to make sure that all residents in Springfield, including Latinx, low income, underrepresented, marginalized folks, know that their voices are heard in the chambers. We know how these communities have traditionally been disenfranchised, so I will be a voice so that folks are part of the decision-making process, giving the council a deeper sense of the work we need to be doing here in Springfield. And as your counselor, I will have the opportunity to serve y'all. It's important that the council hears about the past as well as the current issues that we face on a daily basis. That way we can work together in order to unify Springfield and move forward in making Springfield a city that feels equitable to live in. And I have a track record of being able to win for the people, and we need to be able to bring everyone inside so that we can address the issues that have been affecting everyone. Um, and what motivated me to run was basically that, the desire to unify and serve the full community. Like I said before, where I grew up, I spent my entire life basically in Springfield since I was 3 years old. Based on this personal experience, um, growing up here, seeing underrepresented folks, feeling like we don't have a voice at the table. So as a counselor, I want to be able to be a model to other members of underrepresented, marginalized communities by increasing the civic engagement of residents. That way we can all make sure that our voices are coming to the table and we don't have fear. Because as we know, there's several communities out there that are scared, and it's because of the lack of information, the lack of trust. So that's why I'm running for Springfield City Council for Ward 3, to be able to give a chance to open doors for other folks that have felt that that door has always been closed.
All right.
Thank you.
Outstanding. Yeah. Do you want to start off with the first question there, Tom?
Yeah. Get my glasses on real quick. The Patrician Mobile Home Park has been rezoned, which is causing many of the tenants to be evicted or forcing them to try to find a place to move their 30-year-old mobile home. What do you think should be done about that?
Yeah, so I was actually part of some of those council meetings when the situation was happening, and basically quote some of the council remarks. I do believe we should have a mobile home park that is affordable housing, that is more in line with the city and gateways area, for gateways areas land use goals. Now that it has been rezoned, because it unfortunately did get rezoned, I understand that the city is also wanting to develop and bring in commercial, which could benefit the city, but should not be a risk. Should not be a risk of affecting one of our most vulnerable communities, which is our elderly, to be at a home where they have invested, um, their earnings to a place where they believe they would spend the rest of their lives in. We need to invest in affordable housing where we can pass a resolution to protect these sites and our residents. This should not keep happening. This should be a learning experience to Springfield on where we need to prioritize and grow, as well as find a solution for these families who are currently going through this. And as a community, we don't need no more folks to become unhoused. So I do believe we need to whether pass a resolution or an ordinance to make sure that to preserve some of these trailer parks and affordable housing. Because unfortunately, these folks are Springfield residents. And where are they going to go? That $8,000 that was given to them is not enough. So we do need to prioritize these affordable housing and protect our folks. Yeah.
So a little bit of a follow-up to that. We know that this was a push by Richard, I believe his
Well,
name is Richard Boyle, who's the developer, the owner of Patrician, who wants to, kick these people out of their homes so he can make some more money. But he pushed the city council to rezone, and there was an awful lot of outcry from not just the residents there, but community members and groups to not allow one wealthy person to rezone an area and put people who've lived in Eugene or in Springfield for for years out on the street. You were talking about an initiative or anything, but how would you feel about an initiative that requires, if the city council is going to listen to wealthy developers instead of the people who live in Springfield, an initiative to require that those rezoning, the rezoning be voted on by the people in that district, in those neighborhoods?
I do agree. I think that would be basically going back to our goals of giving the community a voice and power of their community of what they want. Because at the end goal for them, for these residents, they were hoping to stay there for their entire life. They already invested all their money. They already had plans. They built a community. So I do believe that they should be able to have the right to be able to vote on a decision like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, go ahead. And I think that, we're looking at one mobile home park here, but I think the question is even bigger because, Richard Boyle is, a millionaire. And what if he decides he wants to buy property and start rezoning other neighborhoods, not just mobile home parks, but, actual communities where, where people have their, other people have their homes. I mean, uh, so how would you feel about, how do you feel about that? I mean, the idea that one person can just, you know, just decide, one person with enough money can basically get a city council to put anyone out on the street.
I truly believe that's not right. After the rezoning for the patrician happened, so many other communities, Daisy Street, those trailer parks, the ones on 53rd Street, a lot of those folks in those communities were scared. When is it going to happen to their home? When are they going to get pushed out? And that's where I really do think that we need to start listening to our residents, all of our residents, because look at what happened in Gledwin.
Yep.
Those trailer parks got taken out without their say, without their voice. And that's where we need to prioritize our people. And that's why, like I said, I'm running for this seat because I do believe we need to prioritize our voices. And when situations, I don't think a billionaire should be able to come in, and that's what's happening, coming in and buying property. And where do our families go? We already have a unhoused situation in Springfield. We have a lot of homeless. Are we going to start pushing a lot of our residents to become unhoused? And if so, it's a bit frustrating. But we got to be able to work with our citizens and make sure and remind them that they do have power and a voice. But when we're in situations like this, where we ended up almost packing the room at those city council meetings, you had all the patrician people right there, and still it passed. That's unfortunate. It makes us lose our trust to our elected officials.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully that's where we can be able to start bringing back the faith with our actions. Because honestly, if we're not hearing our residents, we're not making pathways, we're not finding an alternative for these folks to go. Because like I said, those $8,000 does not cover anything. Doesn't even move some of those manufactured homes. I've gone personally, I've taken pictures there. You can't move those. Some of those houses have been there for years. You're not going to be able to. You're going to destroy it.
They'll crumble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You want to hit the next question, Tom?
Sure. What in your opinion, should be the primary objective of future economic development in Springfield?
Yeah, in my opinion, the economic development, what in your opinion should be the primary objective? The primary objectives, I think, for the future of economic development, first should be through the efforts to create job creation, job retention, tax-based endowments, and quality of life. Policy and programs to provide services, including building highways, managing parks, and providing medical assisted access to the disadvantaged. And policies and programs that are directly improving the business climate through specific efforts, business finance, marketing, neighborhood development, business retention and expansion, and making sure that the community are involved and have the resources to be able to be knowledgeable um, with some of these. Like for instance, like I believe it's called DevNW. It used to be known as NetGo. We need to have more of those business retention programs that assist small businesses to prevent their relocation and help them survive in these difficult times, like the one we're currently in. We must create an emergency plan. The purpose is to establish relationships between community and business and economic developers to strengthen our existing companies, you know, and as well to watch out for flags of businesses to be at risk. So we need to be able to make sure that we have the appropriate assistance to be able to help these folks in these times of crisis. So I believe those are in my opinion, the primary objectives of our future economic development, and where we need to be able to stay on track and make sure that we have programs that keep a lot of these pillars afloat, like our businesses.
You know, curious with the, with the COVID outbreak and businesses being closed down for so long, we're starting to hear more and more small business owners who are really worried that they're not going to be able to reopen their doors. Have you thought about what the city, what you as a city councilor could push the city to do to help those small business owners? Because the big corporations are going to be fine. A huge majority of our jobs are small business owners, and even more of the decent jobs. People don't like working at Walmart. Walmart sucks. But a lot of people I talk to when I'm doing my organizing say, no, I like working for this small business that I work for because I know the boss is a nice person. They get respect and stuff from a lot of them. So how are we going to keep from losing our small businesses and not having them all be bought up by these big corporations?
Yeah, so something that I'm currently doing right now during the times as currently not a counselor, right? I've been working with the county, making sure that I've been talking to a lot of the small businesses that unfortunately didn't get the support and the aid. I don't know if you heard of the $400,000 that the county was giving out. 100,000 of that dollars went to Springfield. I went to 19 businesses in Springfield that never even heard about that aid, nor that support. And some of these are not just or marginalized, Latinx. Some of these are some of the popular businesses that we have in Springfield that didn't even get that support. Right now, I've been on the ground working with some of the small-time businesses, building advertising towards them, finding out ways to be able to funnel money, whether even if it's a community fund that we built up together just to keep them afloat. Having each week, making sure that we're picking a small-time business and supporting them instead of going to Walmart and all these other areas. We need to support our mom and pop shops, and as well as make sure that when these funds do go out, that we prioritize these small-time businesses to get these funds, because it is unfortunate that we saw some businesses in Eugene that were gonna be fine, and they ended up taking some of that money that should have gone to some of these mom and pop shops.
Yeah.
So as a counselor, just like right now as an organizer, I will be on the ground, making sure that I'm speaking directly to these individuals and making sure that we're finding ways for them to be able to get access to the funds. And we need to be able to create a safety net of funds. Now that we've been through this should be a lesson, and a lesson that we need to be able to learn quick, because the next time we're in this situation, we need to prioritize the ones that are going to go under, because some have gone under and some will go under this month. There's 2 days left, of this month, I believe. I think it's the 29th. But, last month, 2 businesses called me from the Latinx community that fortunately went under, and luckily one came back, because of that community fund. It took the community to bail out this business when it should be the city.
Yep.
To be able to find ways to be able to help and accumulate funds or allocate some type of funds from different entities to be able to, again, prioritize our community, because that's our people. They're the ones that are keeping our city afloat. So, yeah.
So our next question, how would you ensure that every income bracket has housing availability? Because, the middle class and the upper middle class, um, you know, they're not having they're not going to have a problem finding housing. But working class people who are making, I mean, the people that are in our grocery stores right now, making sure that we have food that so many people didn't think deserved $15 an hour, but now all of a sudden they're heroes. How are those people? How are we going to make sure those people are able to find housing?
I would say first, I would include the people that are being directly impacted by the need. You know, we need to make sure that we're including them in a lot of this decision making. And then as well as Springfield has moved in the right direction by allowing accessory dwelling units, thanks to the collaboration like St. Vincent de Paul's and Church of Brethren that built that low income housing on 10th and Main, and as well as the necessity of subsidies for construction of low income housing. I think it's a fact that it's hard and maybe impossible for developers to make a profit on low income or moderate income housing, given the cost of lands and building materials and labor. But we still got to make sure the process of getting building permits, uh, that they're user friendly for people to be able to help build these low income areas, buildings, because a lot of time that prevents housing to be built is the access, right? I've spoken with several folks who are interested in building low-income housing in Springfield, but unfortunately, they don't have the ways and being able to process the paperwork. You know, that's why it's important to make sure that development, like for instance, what we talked about earlier, the development in Glenwood does not force low-income people currently living out of their homes. And like I said before, we got to make sure that we are including these people, like you said, the grocery stores folks, the folks who are literally in the trenches right now, doing, working for all of us. We got to make sure that we're including those folks during this decision making. That way we are prioritizing land and not having certain folks like Richard Boyle buying property. We have community members speaking up and saying, no, we want this. What was beautiful was seeing San Diego. Yes, it wasn't for affordable housing, but it was for a park. What made them be able to gain that park that was theirs in a community park? Well, the community voices, folks who are in seats that actually heard these voices, and making sure that we're prioritizing our residents. Because if we're buying these condos, I heard a rumor that there was going to be condos built behind Fred Meyer. I haven't confirmed that yet. But if that's true, where are we going to have these folks who are currently looking for housing? They can't even afford that. And some of these folks are residents in Springfield. So we got to make sure that we prioritize those folks. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that puts pressure on the rest of the next door neighbors. That maybe we should sell. They're offering us so that they can put up more condos. I mean, it's a domino effect. Yeah. Move along here. What does self-governance mean to you? How do you believe it? And do you believe elected representatives have a role to play in facilitating and self-governance models within our communities? If so, how have you and how do you plan to do that kind of work?
Yeah, so first, what self-government means to me is allowing communities to shape their own social and economic well-being future, that develop and enforce their own laws regarding education, culture, finance, and property. Today there are many ways that, unfortunately, citizens are being deprived all over the world. So hold on, I kind of lost myself. How do you get to a place where each person governs themselves? Yeah, we got to be able to get to a place where folks can be able to govern, and where that can govern themselves, but be able to benefit everyone, right? And the next question: Do you believe elected officials have a role to play in facilitating self-government? Yes, I do. Yes, I want to make sure that I say yes, I do believe that elected officials play a role in facilitating some governance within communities, because how officials perceive the community and how the community perceives officials is important. Because if you're in a marginalized community like myself, you got firsthand to get to see if your elected official actually hears your concerns, or maybe coming from a marginalized community. Sometimes, a lot of time, I didn't know that I could be able to go into the chambers and be able to address some of my concerns. But a lot of the time is, are we actually going to be heard? So, and a lot of the time, some of these elected officials, because they don't talk to the residents, they don't know how to be able to address some of our concerns. And that's why it's important for our elected officials to reflect the community that is trying to help for the greater of the community. Because how can we be able to, like, for instance, myself as a community organizer, there are certain things that I feel like there are certain concerns in Springfield. But without speaking to the residents and I start making decisions and changes that don't even actually fix some of the concerns of these residents because I wasn't able to speak to them. So that's why it's really important to be able to speak to our residents. And with some of these concerns with the marginalized and underrepresented areas, some of these issues intersect with some of the issues that in general Springfield has. So we got to make sure that we do um, elect folks that are directly from these communities, because they are the experts. They are the experts and understand the needs and what changes to be able to put into effect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for that, I mean, I think the Patrician Mobile Home Park was a really good example of community and voters in Springfield reaching out to their elected officials, begging their elected officials to not, throw them out into the streets. And then you had a millionaire, a rich developer, um, who basically said, I don't care what the city says, I'll throw them out anyway. So do what I want. And the city listened to that one man had more of a voice and more influence on our city council than the hundred and some families in in Springfield. That man had more of a voice because he had the money. How would you stop, or how would you address that issue of those individuals who have all the money having more power and more say than our entire working class community in our in our communities?
Well, first of all, we got to look at our goals. What are Springfield goals? Who do we prioritize? And we got to remind ourselves that who are we? Why are we even in these seats, right? Because of our residents. We got to make sure that like I said, we got to put ordinances in place to make sure that we're protecting our people. Because it is unfortunate. Like you said, how do we not know that those trailer parks on Daisy and on 53rd Street? I think that Daisy runs through both of that, the 42nd to the 53rd. How do we not know that those could be next? And where do all of those folks? Those are primarily Latinx neighborhoods, and folks of color, where they're going to get displaced. So we got to make sure and do our job and make sure that we're putting protection there for these people, and making sure that that we're prioritizing our residents, and and not a billionaire that I don't even know if he's even from Springfield. Do you know?
I don't know. I know he owns Willamette Valley Vineyards, so I know he's I think he's from Oregon, but I'm not certain. I think he is from Oregon, but that doesn't mean
No.
just because doesn't mean you're a nice person. But
Yeah.
anyway, you want to take the next question there, Tom?
Sure, sure, why not? Um, yeah. How do you feel about the panhandling ban? Has it been better? Has it been has it been successful? Why or why not? Um, I I didn't even know Springfield had a panhandling ban.
Yeah, we do. So far from, yeah, I didn't know we had one until you asked me about it. Because yeah, growing up in Springfield, we always saw folks giving out money and things like that. But we did, one thing that on my research I did see is that, yeah, the panhandling ban, we have a panhandling ban that helps folks in need and folks who want to give, to support our own house folks. But something that I did see was that a lot of police officers are saying that this panhandling bill has been successful, because it doesn't stop traffic anymore. It doesn't put people at risk from getting out of their cars to give in money. But I also read that folks who are panhandling can panhandle in parks. And y'all can check me if I'm wrong, but at least from the research that I did said that folks could be able to pull over to the side, and that is legal for them to be able to get money. And according to a lot of these police officers, it has been successful. But in order for me myself, if I'm elected, just like I said before, and I need to be able to speak to the unhoused population in order to hear how has it affected them, and has it been more effective since the ordinance went into effect. And if it hasn't, then that's where we need to be able to look in, to be able to support these folks. Because if not, why do we have something in place that is currently not benefiting anyone? We get it with the traffic. Right now, currently, it says that so far, there hasn't been any traffic jams and things like that because of this ordinance. So I haven't seen that, but at least from what I've read, it seems that there's a lot of people in our community that say that it's been effective. My second thing that I have to do now is go find and cite another source, which is the unhoused, and work with them and ask them, it's like, has this been a benefit, or have you been dealing more with a deficit? And if so, how can we be able to help make sure that we compromise, or was that the compromise?
So I would ask a follow-up question. Yeah, we've got people, I mean, our police officers and other people in the community saying that it's been successful. But I would say, where's the data on that? Where's the data that they use to even to implement the ban? I was living down on 6th Street in Springfield when they passed it, and it infuriated me because my personal views, which is my religious views, require me to give money to the poor. The idea that they were telling me that if I saw someone that I felt was in need, that I couldn't give them money. And I can tell you right now, I've been all over the country, and I have seen people panhandling in Washington, D.C., in Boston when I was in the service, in D.C., in Boston, in Florida, in San Francisco, in Seattle. I've never seen, ever seen a traffic jam because someone was panhandling. They show, as far as I could tell, they showed no data. It was just people saying, well, basically he's telling stories. I'm like, so as an elected official, will you commit to actually getting real data, not just on how the ban is going now, but I'd like to see data on why they instituted it. How many people how many accidents were there that were a result of panhandling? When we asked that at the city council, we weren't given that information. All I'm seeing is people saying that it was successful, but giving no facts, giving no data, giving no numbers. And to me, that's what I would like to see. Would you commit to, if you're elected, to actually getting the numbers and the research?
Yeah, I would commit, because I guess now with a lot of the information that you brought up, like my question is, what led to the panhandling? What led to that ban? Because at least from the comments and the things of what I read, yeah, you're right. They were just stories, traffic jams. I've given out money in Eugene lots of times, and it's quick. You roll down your window, pass it out, you help the need, and you keep going. Nobody behind me is beeping.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, you're right. We need to be able to have transparency in Springfield.
Yeah.
So that's something that for sure I will be able to push, and especially because as myself, as being a different candidate than what's normally been, I want to make sure that my communities know the in and outs of what's going on. because the benefit is not just for the counselors to have all the information. It's to be able to give out the information for we could be able to work together as a team, from residents to counselors to making decisions.
Yep.
So yes, I would.
So cool. Tom, you want to follow up with the last one?
What is your vision for the city, and as an elected representative, what role will you play in bringing that vision to reality?
Yeah, my vision for the city of Springfield is to unite its residents by, like I said before, by informing underrepresented Latinx, low-income, marginalized folks of their rights and where they could be able to have a say in making change, for all of our residents to feel like they can partake in a democratic process that supports and is not only to have access, but accessibility to speak their concerns in a language that these communities speak to address their needs. Truly, then, that's when we can be able to move forward as a community and make Springfield stronger, where low income, underrepresented, and other communities can feel comfortable in addressing their needs because it intersects with all the other communities' needs. So that's my vision. And again, I know I'm starting from a unique point, but that's because we really need to be able to work on civic engagement, especially with the communities that have been voiceless, and help them be able to have a voice. Because we're not going to be able to address a lot of some of these issues. We're always going to be able to put a Band-Aid on them, unless we're addressing majority of these needs that, like I said, they intersect. Some of these, a lot of the things are the same issues, but we're only looking at it from one lens instead of looking at it from the full picture. So that's my vision. And that's, if elected, I will be focusing on that.
Good. So, Johanis, do you want to give us, do you have a plug for a website or anything like that you'd like to put out there?
Yeah, I currently just launched my website yesterday. It's johanistadeo.org. I also have a Facebook page called Elect Johanis Tadeo, where it can take you directly to the website as well, where folks will be able to donate and as well as have more information about my candidacy and the work of what I've done. Yeah, so like for instance, like the food boxes, everything what we've been doing during COVID-19, helping out with the renters and things like that. Folks can all find that on my Facebook on Elect Johanis Tadeo.
Outstanding. All right. Well, thank you, and good luck with your candidacy. I mean, we don't endorse anybody, but we're wishing all of you good luck. So we're going to wish your opponent good luck too. But but
Yeah,
yeah,
good luck, Johannes.
yeah,
Thank you.
definitely.
And like I said in the other interviews, like whoever the residents end up choosing, regardless of one of us, make sure that you keep pushing us, challenging us, making sure that you're sharing your voice, and depending on how the counselor responds to it, that should be an indication of who we need to vote for the next time around.
Yeah.
And make sure that the whoever the counselor is, that's actually representing the people, and like you said, not billionaires. So
Exactly.
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you again, and you have a good night. Be safe.
All right, thank you, Lonnie, and
All right.
have a good one.